All right. Are we live? Are we live? It looks like we are. So I already got Mr. Mill there, and Mr. X is here. Says howdy. Whoa, I actually caught a stream at the beginning. Says Algie Mill. Yes, yes, you did. So hopefully you could hear me. If you can't, if there's any audio issues, let me know. I will try and fix them right away. I'm back. I'm back from Northeast Arkansas. I'm back from Memphis. I'm back from Graceland, checking out Elvis's old stomping grounds, his home. That was pretty cool. So I figured I'd go over Common America Volume 8 Omnibus 2, Kindred Heavens, talk about iconic comics, the TMNT versus Street Fighter issue number 1 variants with Matt Weldon art in particular. Just talk about iconic comics in general, answer any questions from the chat, and then just call it a day. So there's not really like too much anything crazy. I really just wanted to check up with people since I've been traveling and haven't been able to pay attention to too much stuff. So I could go with in any direction you want, pretty much. But I definitely wanted to make sure that I covered the Common America and Kindred Heavens campaigns and the Weldon art. So that was what I wanted to circle back with and let people know that Common America Volume 8 and Omnibus 2 has 21 days to go. Last I checked, I don't know if it's changed since then. It was not too long ago. The campaign raised a total of $148,838 between Kickstarter and Indiegogo, with a total number of backers 2,658 backers. Again, that's between Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So congratulations to Timothy Lim. Congratulations to Mark Pellegrini for another outstanding campaign. People that have been following it know that this campaign, I think, reached $100,000 in the shortest time out of all of their campaigns, if I'm not mistaken. They could correct me if I'm wrong. And the backers are going strong. So yeah, Tagi is here, says, hey, Doug, can't chat, driving. Yeah, don't get into an accident while you are listening to me. Please, please don't get into an accident in general, but definitely don't want you paying attention to me and then get into an accident. I would feel horrible about that. Charlie is here. Were you at a show in Arkansas? Yes, I was at a show in Northeast Arkansas. Paragould, Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. It was the quote-unquote NerdCons Assemble convention or show at the community center there, and had a great time. So I can bring up some pictures if you would like. Actually, I put out a video just yesterday on this. So this was mainly about Graceland, and I wanted to have Elvis in the background, follow that dream. And I know that the Wandering Creative wanted to go with If I Can Dream, which I thought was actually a good choice. I debated it, but on Twitter before we left, I used that. So I didn't want to use it again. Also, I feel like Follow That Dream fits well with the I was following Mark and Tim and Eric with the camera, and we were traveling and going different places. So I felt like that it fit a little bit better as well. But there's no end to the Elvis songs that I could use, because I really like Elvis quite a lot. So if you haven't checked out the little ditty with Elvis and our trip and going to we went to the Bass Pro Pyramid, which is like a hotel, and it's got all the Bass Pro stuff. It's got a Wahlburger in there, which I did not get a chance to have a Wahlburger to see if Mark Wahlberg and his family make good burgers, because it was a sit-down restaurant. So I'm a little bummed about that, but the place was gigantic and it was awesome. Mr. Canete is here, Eric Canete. I can't tell you how nice of a guy Eric, well, he is in general, but we got to go on this trip together and he was hanging out and we had all sorts of cool conversations. And actually, we had a cool conversation in the airport yesterday. Or was it 2 days ago? I'm losing track of time. 2 days ago, we had a conversation in the airport on basically staying hungry and getting out there and honing your skills, all sorts of skills, and not resting on your laurels, not coasting on past successes, and just always with every single new campaign feeling like you have to earn the trust of the readers yet again, and you have to work just as hard on your current campaign, if not harder, than you did on the last campaign. You cannot take your readers for granted. So these are the things that I get to talk about with Eric, and we're basically on the same page. I feel that a lot of times people essentially, they're just like, do you know what I did? Do you know who I am? I did this and I did that and I did the other thing. And it's like, nobody cares what you did 5 years ago. Nobody cares what you did 4 years ago. Nobody cares what you did 3 years ago. Nobody cares 2 years. Nobody cares last year. What are you doing today to earn the trust of your readers? And that's what matters. Now, obviously, there is a balance to be had. So you wouldn't have the reputation that you have if you didn't put out good work. So so in its proper context, it's okay to acknowledge your resume, obviously. But with every new book, you need to have the eye of the tiger, that sort of thing. And you have to be getting out there. And that's one of the things that I really like about Iconic Comics is they're on the road. They're out there. They're meeting people. They're shaking hands. They're winning over new readers. There was a guy who was like shocked that I sold a set of Soul Finder books to his mother. It's like 70-something-year-old mother bought all the Soul Finder books from me. He was like, how did you do that? How did you sell those books to my mom? But I was talking to my wife, and she's like, you've always had a really good relationship with old people for whatever reason. So when I was a kid, I actually grew up with my grandmother. She was like a second mother to me. And so for whatever reason, since I was little, I've been able to interact and like talk to older people. And maybe it just paid off at the show or whatnot. But it was just funny because the guy was like, yeah, I think you literally sold your books to my mom. What is going on there? So that's, again, if you're out and you're on the road and you're getting the pulse of the people, you can see what they want and what they're looking for and all of that. And actually, speaking about that, one of the refrains that I heard multiple times, one time it was put almost verbatim like this, but basically this is the refrain of people that were coming to the table. They said, I'm looking for something new. That's what I want. I want something new. So long story short, how many times can you do Civil War 10? Like, you keep doing the same Marvel stories over and over and over and over again. How many Clone Sagas can you do, or something related to the Clone Saga? And so even if it's good, it's just people have seen it again and again and again, and they're looking for something new. And they were coming by and they saw the Soul Finder covers, and they're like, hey, that's something new. And then you have an opportunity, you have a small window of time to talk to these people and be like, yes, not only is this new, but it looks like it might be up your alley because you got that preacher shirt on, because you got that grunt style shirt on, because you clearly look like you're a religious guy because you literally got a cross hanging from your neck right there, and I see you looking at my rosary. So those are the sorts of things. I think it's definitely important to get on the road. So in June, I was in Lubbock. In July, I was in Arkansas. In August, I'm going to be at Bell County Comic-Con. And then in September, I can't talk about it yet, but things look like they're about to be finalized. Iconic Comics might be somewhere where you're like, whoa, I wasn't expect them to show up at that particular convention. That is very interesting. So just know that behind the scenes, Iconic Comics might be leaving the South. I could say that much, but I don't want to get into details until everything is finalized. But Iconic Comics might be going into some new territory in terms of, how do I say it? We've been in Texas, we've been in Arkansas, we've been in Alabama, went down to Florida and Orlando and all of that. And then it's like, all right, let's see where else we can go. Again, places you might not expect to see iconic comics. We might just be there. So if that all unfolds the way that I think it's going to unfold, you might see some eyebrows raised. We'll just put it that way. But we like to keep things close to the vest for a reason. But I think people will how do I say it? They'll find it very interesting. I'm trying to choose my words very carefully here. So Miss H says Maryland? No, it isn't Maryland. Although I would like to get back there. I have friends in the Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland area. So one of these days I will get back there, but tis not Maryland. Let's see. Check the chat here. Eric Canete, Pumpkin Joe is here. Mr. Grohovec is here. Certainly been an eventful summer so far, but it's good to hear from you. Brett Palmer, what's up? What's up? Rob is here. What's good, guys? What's really good? Hello, Neo Star Productions is here. Bam. Thank you for tuning in. Says evening, Doug. Rob says, got my tickets. Totally ready for Bell County Comic Con. Well, we are ready to see you at Bell County Comic Con. I'm hoping that I could get my Soul Finder bags in the near future. I don't know if I said they were literally these like Soul Finder bags, but they're these quality bags, and they got the zippers, and they got all this stuff, and they got some cool Soul Finder art on them, and I want to give them to people like Rob and some others that I see in the YouTube comment section on Twitter and all of that. So Algie Mill says West Coast. You never know. Let's see. Neostar Productions. All right. Heading up north. Very curious. Still, if you find lads ever come back to Florida, it'll be an honor to make things work and come see y'all finally. I'd like to get back to Florida. That was very cool. And so here's the thing is with these shows, I like to either go early and stay late, or one or the other, or sometimes both, I guess, and turn it into a mini vacation. So you work and you play. You get to do both, and you work hard and you party responsibly, that sort of thing. So we got to go and we got some ribs in Memphis, some dry rub. So that was super, super good. And then, so actually, Tim and Mark took us to this like steak house the first night that we got there on Thursday, and it was a steak that was essentially the size of your head. And so that was Thursday. Then Friday we had ribs for lunch, and then for dinner we went to a Japanese steakhouse. So then it was giant steak, ribs, steak. And then the next day, I had hot dogs for lunch. And then I had a bunch of ham for dinner. So there was a lot of carnivorous food going on. We'll just put it that way. But yeah, it was fun. All right. So let's see. Back to Common America, Volume 8 and Omnibus. Let's see, blah, blah, blah. 2,658 backers between Indiegogo and Kickstarter. $148,838 raised so far. 21 days to go. Congratulations to Tim and Mark. Kindred Heavens with Scott Malin here. Has 8 days to go. It's his first campaign, if I'm not mistaken. Got 767 backers, myself included. Full disclosure, I backed Tim's book, which I have since the very start, Tim and Mark's book. And I also backed Kindred Heavens based on Tim's recommendation. He said this was an A book. And he may have even said A+. So I backed Kindred Heavens. It's got $28,955, 767 backers. Very good. And if what Tim says is true, and I'm assuming it is, he hasn't led me astray yet, once people get this book, the second book's going to be even better. So very cool that he's closing in on 800 backers with 8 days to go on his first campaign. Blue Samurai Zero is here. Says, hello. Thanks for tuning in, man. I really appreciate it. Says Kindred Heavens, we'll look at it. Yeah, I heard it's an all ages book. You can be a kid and enjoy it. You can be a young adult and enjoy it, or you can be a 40-plus-year-old man or woman and enjoy it. So if that is the case, and I am assuming it is, then I'm sure it'll be good. So looking forward to it. Check it out. And then I believe this just went out today. There's the TMNT versus Street Fighter #1 IDW retail exclusive for Bell County Comic Con. There's a couple different covers. I am biased, of course, and I'm going to go with the Matt Weldon option as my favorite. It really is my favorite. I mean, come on now. This is very, very cool. But Matt's always doing very nice art. Let's see. Back to the chat. All right. All right. All right. I'm not missing anything. Went over that. Back to the streams. I could go through this, show a few pictures from the trip. Again, had a really good time with Eric and Tim and Mark hanging out on was it Beale Street? All the blues, the famous blues stuff. Jerry Lawler's restaurant, if you're into the wrestling, WWF/WWE/ whatever other acronyms they have. When I was growing up, it was WWF. So I will always think of it as that, but whatever, WWE, that's fine. Let's see. No, the Matt Weldon, this is not a crowdfunder. This is just they're available, they're limited to Bell County Comic Con. But they're already there. Puma Fist is here. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate that as well. So if I'm not mistaken, I haven't read this yet, but I believe everything's good to go, and they will be ready at Bell County Comic Con, limited retail exclusive. So definitely not a crowdfunder. All right. Boop. All right. Let's see. A few more pictures. Got to go to the ice cream shop down in Memphis. This is the Bass Pro shop, which is gigantic, and there's actually a hotel involved with it as well. There's a giant elevator that you can take to the top, and then there's a glass floor, and you could look down and look out over Memphis. So that was pretty cool. Here it is. Here's Mark and Eric taking a picture out, looking over Memphis. And then there's the three of us. Tim took that picture, and it was a good time had by all. So like I said, work hard, play responsibly. Timothy Lim got me a present at the show, a Kurok. If you're into Zelda, you'll know what that is. Somebody this is a homemade one that somebody made. Very cool. And then Eric Canete was kind enough to get me this Cobra Commander. Very awesome. Thank you, Eric. I appreciated that. That was a surprise. And anything. Oh, Captain Cummings actually drove something like 7 hours to get to the show, and he was able to hang out with us as well. So if you know Captain Cummings, he's one of the originals, and he showed up, drove through the rain. The weather was kind of iffy, and so went through bad weather, got there, hung out at the show with us, went to the Japanese steakhouse with us. That was very, very cool. And I think I've said this before, but I think it's really cool that the guys that I met in 2016, 2017, I still have a good relationship with them and able to hang out at shows with them. Captain Cummings, Englentine. I met Englentine down in Florida. And even Richard. I'm contrary to what some people might believe, I'm on perfectly fine terms with Richard. There's people on social media that like to pretend, or they don't even know what they're talking about, but they think that there's a war between myself and Richard. There really is not. But I'm sure that I can write him tonight and we would be perfectly fine. And actually, speaking of that, I saw some people that were taking shots at Richard recently because he's not one of these super culture warrior guys. Richard C. Meyer. And I was thinking about it. These guys that want him to be more of a quote unquote culture warrior. And it's like, he literally fought in a real war, dude. He had people trying to blow him up. He had people trying to blow his friends up successfully. He had people trying to blow his head off. Sort of like my friend from the army, Hector Leja, literally killed by a sniper in Iraq. Yeah, so Richard was in a real war where people actually were sometimes mutilated their bodies by IEDs or shot and killed and things like that. But you're upset that he doesn't want to get into a quote unquote culture war on YouTube and battle that. Maybe you should just cut the guy some slack. Maybe you should just leave him alone. If you don't like him, you could just walk your own separate way. If you're upset that he's not getting into the latest Kathleen Kennedy whatever, who cares, dude? He doesn't need to be enlisted into your war because you think that that's like the end all be all, as if people are fighting over Kathleen Kennedy and whether she's going to be fired or not, dude. Like, whatever. I don't know. It just like really was strange to me that these guys were ripping on Richard because he didn't want to be on their team. These guys always they're in these like tribalist sort of things. Like, why isn't Richard doing the thing that I want him to do and saying the thing that I want him to say? Again, dude, when you've had people try and blow you up and turn you into, just a giant blob of blood and broken bones on the desert landscape so camel spiders can chew on your corpse or something along those lines, you don't really care about Kathleen Kennedy. I hate to tell you, like, you'll talk about her, but it's really not the most pressing thing on your mind. I hate to tell you that. So Richard C. Meyer was smart to distance himself from these guys. I mean, it's one of these things where if he quietly walks away from individuals and does his own thing, maybe he's trying to tell you something. You could just leave him alone. And actually, I saw I was listening to a stream and somebody was in one of these streams about Richard, and they were just like, who is this guy and why should I care? And I was just like, oh, this is so very interesting. It's 2023, and these people that say that they're part of a movement, that Richard was the spark that lit off, that ignited the powder keg, they don't even know who Richard is. And they're asking, who is this guy and why should I care? They're completely divorced from the history of the thing, of the movement that they say that they're a part of. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. But like I said, if you are upset at Richard, you could just ignore the guy and just let him do his own thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. So here's some of the ribs, the dry rub that we got while we were in Memphis. They were delicious, I have to say. Went to Elvis's place. Very cool. Got to see the Lisa Marie. And the Bass Pro Shop, the giant pyramid there. So very cool, very cool. Let's see, AL, make money, success is the best revenge. Yeah, I mean, he has nothing to prove to anybody about. When I see people, I have a thing with people that try and enlist you into their wars, and then if you don't get involved in their wars, then you're a bad person. And then they have to focus on you, and they have to put a giant spotlight on you and say, like, he's not saying the things that we want him to say. Yeah, maybe he's not doing it because you're the type of person that demands he does it, that demands some sort of allegiance to you and your hierarchy of people that, tell you exactly what you have to be enraged about on a day-by-day basis. Maybe it should tell you something that myself, Captain Cummings, Englentine, and Richard have all walked away from people that are constantly outrageously outraged on a daily basis. Because they need you to get this frothy, foamy anger junk coming out of your mouth because you got to be so angry about everything every single day. It's one thing to be like, hey, this is an issue. Let's talk about this. It's another to be like, be angry, send super chats, send me money, I know you can't afford your monthly rent, but send me super chats, be angry. All right, so let's see. Neostar Productions. He's doing work with guys like Chuck Dixon and Stallone. I'd love to have that level of collaboration. Yeah, he's doing whatever he wants. So if you're upset that he's walked his own way, all right, fine. Do your own thing. But to be like weirdly focused on him, come on now. Let's see. Eric July is smart to not let these guys influence him as well. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, so in 2022, there were people that were saying that I blocked him when I did no such thing. I had a private account for a, like, I want to say like a month and a half or something, when I had waves upon waves upon waves of people who were trying to distract me while I was trying to get my book out and trying to get my hardcover put together. And so they were trying to waste my time every single day with the most moronic things. And so I was like, I got to focus, and I can't focus if every time I log in, I have somebody adding me and being like, Doug Ernst is a scumbag. Doug Ernst, blah, 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 blah. So I privated my account for a while, and people are like, oh, Doug Ernst blocked Eric July. And I was like, I literally did no such thing. I have a private account. What are you talking about? I never blocked the guy. In fact, I've only said nice things about the fact that he puts his money where his mouth is. And he's actually gotten books out when he said he was going to get books out. And he's got fast turnover. He put out a book last year, and now he's putting out another book or two this year. So I haven't done anything, but there's always people that are trying to, like, you know, poke the bear or start trouble or stoke the fires of their drama or whatever. And it's just like, I never even talk about the guy, dude. Like, I haven't read his book. I don't know anything. Like, I haven't read his book, but I do know that he has put up a lot of his own money in this endeavor, and I support anybody that puts up their own money to do this sort of stuff. So it's not cheap. He did an animated trailer for this current launch or whatever. Animation is expensive. And even if you're only doing like 10 seconds or 15 or 20 seconds, it can get expensive. If it's halfway decent, it's going to cost you money. So if you're putting up that money up front, like, I can't argue with people that are putting up large sums of money. Let's see. Blue Samurai, I muted Eric because of the constant attitude he gives anyone who isn't completely positive about the book. These are regular people, not just deliberate antagonists. So if you look at my Twitter feed, that is one thing where, so I hope my actions kind of say where I stand on certain issues. So I have people on a regular basis. In fact, last week, I had people that were constantly trying to start crap with me. So what they did in the past was they would just talk about me. They would talk about me on streams to large numbers of people. And then, of course, because they were talking to large audiences, then a certain percentage of them would then come to me and ask me if I heard what was said about me, or they would send me the link and they'd be like, hey, did you see that so-and-so was, saying that you suck and blah, 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 blah. And then I would have to either ignore it or I'd be like, oh, crap, how do I answer this? Because I'm not allowed to have a private opinion on somebody else's public comments. So I was like, ah, crap. But now the thing that they do is they literally will tag me. So they make sure that it ends up in my feed. So that's the new thing. But anyway, so I have these people that will tag me and they'll be like, Doug Ernst is a scumbag. Everybody knows that. Yeah. And so then it's like, okay, well, I could quote unquote monetize this, or I can do what I believe is the right thing to do and ignore this guy or mute this guy or whatever, because I don't have time every second of the day. tomorrow is never promised. I can drop dead on this stream right now. I could have a heart attack, Homer Simpson style, and die. So if I think that every second is important, I don't have time to be spending arguing with nincompoops and doofuses that are dishonest and they're a bunch of liars. So I try to just ignore them. And what I try to do is to basically, every time somebody starts some crap, I'm gonna figure out a way to get new artwork out there. I'm gonna figure out a way to promote a show that I'm going to with Tim and Mark, whether it's Eric Canete or whatever. I'm gonna highlight somebody that's literally got Common America patches and Kiro Soul Finder patches on their jackets, and they're sharing it and all this sort of stuff. So it's the sort of jujitsu thing or whatever, where I'm using whatever negative energy they have and leveraging it to my advantage by turning it into a positive sort of thing. So if you look, for the most part, I ignore most of that junk, and I'll just literally post smoked chicken or somebody that's sharing like a comprehensive review of all the Soul Finder books and talking about how they're sharing it on Instagram or something along those lines. Again, new art, Soul Finder Volume 4, that sort of stuff. Let's see. Eric July is not using his own money. Well, yes and no. I mean, he definitely had, for that first to get the books ready for that first campaign, he had to put up a good amount of money. Maybe after the first campaign, he's got millions of dollars, but for that first campaign, he definitely put up a lot of his own money beforehand. I guess you can say like super chats and YouTube, like, but to me, that's his money if he's making it on YouTube. So, so before he even launched the first ISOM book, there is no doubt in my mind that that guy was putting up tens of thousands of dollars on upfront to get it out there on time. AL, don't die, Doug. I need the next book. Now, so the thing with the next book is it's being colored right now, and Matt knows and my wife knows if I was in a car accident tomorrow, put out the book. So you should get Volume 4 no matter what. And actually, the script of Volume 5 is also done. And I told my wife, if I die, make sure that this 5th book gets out. So in a calamity, a worst case scenario, you should get Volume 4 and Volume 5. But hopefully I'll be around for a while. Let's see. Richard the Fox, thanks for tuning in. Says just checking in. Wish I wasn't 30 minutes late. No problem, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see. Anyone else? Honestly, it was kind of dumb for Eric not to include digital versions. Again, that's another thing where I'm all about the digital versions. I don't know why people would not do digital versions. So, yeah, I want to get the books out to as many people as possible. So I'm going to shows. I'm doing digital versions. I have the book on the Iconic Comics website. If people email me directly, they can get the books. I collaborated with Rugged Rosaries for a couple years there, and I might do it again. I'm sure I don't want to say I'm sure, but they're probably very open to it. Pumafist has got to run. Have fun. Good luck, Doug. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Ethereal Dragon says hello. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. Tagia says almost home. All righty. So be safe. Most accidents occur within 1.2 miles of the home. So yeah, don't get into an accident right before you get home. Anyway, like I said, I try to ignore these guys as much as possible and put out new material, our previews, and all of that. Here's a preview of Eric Canete's work on Noctis Terrari, Night Terrors, which should be out later this year. It will be colored in the very near future. It's done. Eric Canete knocked out the rest of it while he was in Arkansas. So that was very cool. I got to see that. And he's working on a cover, which should be very cool. I heard the concept that he has going on for that, so that should be cool. And I guess I'll address this real quick. So speaking of the people that hate my guts, if you go to YouTube and you Google my name, if you Googled this last year, there would have been numerous videos littering this whole entire thing with a cumulative view count in the tens of thousands of people literally lying about me with a giant smear campaign, right? Now you do it now. You Google it on YouTube. They're all gone. All of them of note are literally gone. Why are they gone? Could it have something to do with the fact that I started on a timeline of my choosing, a time and place of my choosing, randomly dropping proof that a bunch of people who hated my guts for years were lying about me? And I had proof that made them look like the biggest liars of all time. They were dishonest people. And suddenly, all of these streams with a cumulative view count in the tens of thousands started to disappear over and over. And now it's all the regular videos once again. Very interesting. It seems as though people are trying to cover their tracks. It seems as though people don't want to be scrutinized now that I, again, at times and places of my choosing, will randomly put out the truth because I was lied about on a massive scale, an incredibly massive scale. And they know that the truth makes them look bad and they don't want it out there, so they gotta scrubbity scrubbaroo. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Where are all the hit pieces that used to be there? It's almost as if it's an unspoken thing when people see the truth that they're like, oh, I'm not going to apologize to Doug because I was duped, because I was really gullible, because I always wanted to believe bad things about him. And the second that I heard bad things about him, I believed all of it. And now that I know that, well, you know what? The truth might be very, very, very different than I was led to believe. Well, now they're just going to scrubbaroo the internet. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So the truth comes out on a long enough timeline, and I've got plenty of more truth that I've just been hanging on to. Sometimes I like to watch people talk and talk and talk and lie and lie and lie. And you let the house of cards of lies pile up. You're a little kid and you get all the decks of cards and you pile them up, and it gets more and more unstable as it gets higher and higher and higher. And then you throw a G.I. Joe on there or whatever the heck it is, and it all comes tumbling down. So I like to sometimes watch giant liars lie and lie and lie and lie. And then I got the little truth G.I. Joe that I throw across the room, and it hits the deck of cards and it all falls down. And the giant liars are exposed for exactly who they are. Giant, dishonest, scumbag liars. So very interesting, very interesting. I don't need to get into a flame war. I don't need to get into a pissing match with these people. I just got to tell the truth. That's all I got to do. Neostar Productions. Wow, now that you mention it, Doug, I only look up creators by their project, not their names. Richard Fox, the internet never forgets too. Ethereal Dragon, that is grounds for lawsuits. Let me tell you something. If I was a bored individual, if I wasn't working on Soul Finder and I didn't have all this stuff going on, if I was bored and vindictive, I promise you that there were certain people that would be feeling the legalistic pain right now. But I want to focus on the books. And the books are what's most important to me, because if you want to get back at people that are liars, just put out good work, put out good stories, and just keep flooding the market with quality content, quality storytelling. And that will seriously piss them off. And it won't put money into the pockets of lawyers. I'm not really a huge fan of lawyers, which is funny because when I was a young man, I briefly considered becoming a lawyer. And then my dad gave me some advice about lawyers. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm not going to be a lawyer. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate that. Doug, who is your favorite G.I. Joe? So I don't know if you ever heard this story, but a while back on one of my streams, I don't know if it's still up or not, but this was a long time ago. It was just me sharing my G.I. Joes, and it was all Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander. And then Timothy Lim was like, what? I collect Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander too. And then so I've seen Tim's collection of G.I. Joes as well. So Tim and I both have giant collections of Snake Eyes and Cobra Commander. And that was just another one of those weird things where it's like, you know, I don't know, it was like meant to be that we would work together or somehow come together with iconic comics or whatnot. But I've always loved Snake Eyes quite a bit. Is that a cop-out? I don't know. But I just always thought he was like super cool. But the one thing that stinks is I had maybe because I just used him so much, but you know, in the old G.I. Joes, they have the rubber bands in them or whatever. He got like really weak. So then you had to be very careful about when you would use him, because you're like, if I use this guy too much, he's going to break. So I hated with the G.I. Joes, every once in a while, the rubber bands would get all weird. Richard the Fox says the internet never forgets too. Yeah. Oh, regarding that. So here's the thing. Even though I don't get involved in like 90-something% of all, you know, these spats when people start lying about me online, I see those of you who have spoken the truth and you have directly confronted some of these people. Sometimes that's not a good thing. Sometimes I feel like you might want to just ignore them as well. But the people that are very skilled at articulating the truth and then they go running away, the liars, thank you for that. I see you and I appreciate it. And if you show up to Bell County Comic Con, I'm going to make sure that I give you your little soul finder bag or something to let you know that I appreciate you sticking up for the truth, because the internet is filled with a bunch of scumbag liars. That's the nicest way I could put it. Let's see. All right. So hopefully that answers your G.I. Joe question. Let's see. Blue Samurai Zero. Some of us are squeamish, easily grossed out. We hate everyone's guts. Neostar Productions. Soul Finder will bring us back home. Oh, yeah. The Soul Finder vinyl should be done in the somewhat near future. I will keep people updated on that. I was trying to get it for Bell County Comic Con, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not. AL says, I know Doug Tenapel said he doesn't like digital because it's easier to post online for free. So here's the thing. I disagree with Doug on that as well. So obviously I don't support people stealing artwork and just downloading things for free. But at the same time, I feel like you shouldn't punish good people because there are bad people out there. So it's like people that really enjoy your work. So when Napster first came out and that was available, I didn't utilize Napster because I liked Pearl Jam and STP and Smashing Pumpkins and all these bands. And I was like, I'm going to support them. I'm going to buy their albums because they're good artists. Foo Fighters, REM, all these guys, Weezer, etc., etc., etc. And so I was like, I'm not going to be stealing their work. But I feel like there's an entire generation of people that feel like if they can get something for free by stealing it, then it's okay or something along those lines. And that's not cool. But I don't know. So I disagree with Doug on the idea that you would not make things available digitally for your own readers who want the books digitally. So, but I mean, he could do whatever he wants, but I'm going to keep putting out Soul Finder digitally. And if I work on any other IPs, I'll do those digitally as well. So, but I feel that's the other thing is you have people in Brazil, you have people in Poland, you have people all over the world, and they want your books. And if you're not doing what Timothy Lim and Mark are doing, where they have print on demand, the Amazon stuff in foreign countries, how are you going to get those people the books, especially with postage being so expensive in 2023. If you're a creator, you know that all of the postage rates for everything, including media mail, have gone up. And if you're sending stuff overseas, it's insanely expensive. So at some point in time, you're not going to be able to easily get people stuff overseas if this continues. I mean, even if it stayed where it is right now, it's still a serious financial pain in the butt. So to me, if I have somebody in Poland that wants the book, but they don't want to pay the shipping for it, I'm going to give them the digital version. I'm going to get that in their hands one way or the other. So AL, I liked Flint and Lady J, but I also like the obscure Joes too, like Bazooka and Alpine. Oh, Alpine was pretty cool. Yeah. And actually Outback is pretty cool as well. I actually have Outback up on my dresser right now. So that's another one. Flint. I have Flint. I know some people don't like Flint. I actually liked Dial Tone when I was a kid. And I think it was Tim who was kind of like laughing at me over Dial Tone a while back. If I'm wrong, I apologize, Tim. But I like Dial Tone. I always thought he was cool, the communications. And he had a black beret, and I thought the black beret was really cool. Let's see. All right. Anyone else? Neostar. I do love Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. I mean, yeah, how can you not like Storm Shadow as well? They've been my consistent favorites throughout the G.I. Joe cartoons. Maybe I'll make a Ninja series in the near future. Yeah, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow from the very start were very, very cool. Neostar, the Postal Service in many foreign nations are a nightmare. Digital is necessary for accessibility. Yeah, I was talking to a very kind guy from Brazil today, and I tried to send him. I've had a nightmare experience with Brazil multiple times. Multiple books shipped back to me, sometimes 8 months later, and it's really a pain in the butt, especially if you're sending packages that are $150 or more. Not digging it at all. So the guy in Brazil, he's like, hey, I got a friend in Canada. Can you send it to him? And then when he comes to visit down in Brazil, then he'll give me the book. Yeah, sure, I can do that. But Brazil is horrible. It's a nightmare. I do not like it at all. Sorry, Brazilians, but your postal service is poop. It's shiza. But what is not shiza is Matt Weldon's TMNT versus Street Fighter #1 IDW retail exclusive Bell Comic Con cover C variant here. So, all right, I think that's about it on my end. I've covered basically everything that I wanted to cover. Boom, got that. Kindred Heavens, check it out, see if it's up your alley. Common America, it's on Indiegogo and Kickstarter. So whatever one you prefer, check that out. Let's see, 21 days to go. Common America Volume 8 Omnibus. Bam. And there we go. I think that's about it on my end. Unless anyone has any final comments, let me know. I'm on my little Father Redder account. Actually, if you don't like my regular account because I sometimes post political stuff, check out Father Patrick Redder. I pretty much only post iconic comic stuff there and religious stuff. So if you don't like the religious stuff, then I can't really help you. You might not want to check out Father Patrick Redder, but he sticks to Catholic stuff and iconic comics. All right, my main man, Riserman, artist Felipe, is also from Brazil. Yeah, the Brazilians have a lot of really good artists and colorists and all of that sort of stuff, but their postal service is a mess. They got to fix that. Because a couple years ago, I was sending to somebody and it got sent back and it was in limbo. And he was like, yeah, they're just a bunch of lazy losers. They don't like to do their job and blah, 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 blah. I had one, the package, it got all the way to his street. And there was like one little letter that was off or something along those lines. But he's like, no, in the system, it says that it is here. It is ready to go. And there is no way with the way that, because I sent him like a picture when it got back. He's like, there's no way that this should have not gotten to my place. They know exactly where I live based on what you, even if there's like a typo or whatever, there's no way they should. They're just not doing it because they don't feel like it. They're just being stupid. So that was one. So it's like you have to get every little thing right, or else they'll use that as an excuse not to do it. And it would be like if I was on, like, I don't know, Bleed Street or something like that. Instead of like 2 E's, I put 3 E's, and apartment 108. And then I put Bleed Street, apartment 108. And because there was an extra E, they're like, no, we can't do that. So get with the program, Brazil. All right. So I think that's about it. AL, thanks for stream. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll try and come back in the near future. Thanks to everyone who has tuned in. If I missed you in the comments section, I apologize. Mrs. H, thanks for tuning in. Mr. Grohovac, Tagia, Mr. X, Charlie, Brett, Algie Mill, anybody else I forgot along the way. Blue Samurai Zero, thanks for tuning in. And everybody else. All right. I'll see you guys later. Thanks again. Bye.